Hey, y'all, welcome back to this episode of the Bait Tank. Today we're talking about something that we talked about a couple episodes ago. Every ecosystem starts off with the tiny organisms and moves up to the bigger fish, right? At what point do most anglers really kind of screw this up? That's what we're going to talk about tonight, starting with the humble minnow.
Welcome to the Bait Tank, where if it's fishing, we'll talk about it. Whether it's gear, techniques, stories, or the health of our waterways, nothing's off the hook. So grab your rod, sit back, and let's dive in.
Like I said, y'all, welcome back to the Bait Tank. Today I got Zach with me. Zach, welcome in. Long time no see, my friend.
I know, right?
I know you've been busy. Life has been crazy for everybody, I'm sure. Move your camera a little bit so your head's more in the center of the frame. Perfect. All right. So, Zach, tell us, for those who haven't met you or haven't seen you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an angler, fish for catfish mainly, trophy fish, and I'm also a native fish collector, as in like rare species of shiners, dace, all the little minnows you see swimming around in creeks and stuff like that. I breed fish, so I try to do a lot of conservation stuff to help the ecosystem out.
Now, remind me, you are in Alabama.
Yes.
Now, I can't remember exactly where in Alabama, but I know you're in Alabama. I know you're south of Scottsboro, you're south of Huntsville, if I remember correctly, but I cannot remember where. Where exactly in Alabama are you?
I'm in Athens, Alabama.
Okay. All right. Now, why the minnow? Why?
It's something about the shiners and the other minnows like that have really piqued my interest. These fish, the males only color up once a year, and a lot of times when they color up, they're gorgeous.
Sure. I've seen that in some species of fish. So that doesn't surprise me.
Like you've got one that's called a rainbow shiner.
Uh-huh.
That is one of the most beautiful native fish to North America. It's blue, pink, red, yellow. It's got all, I mean, it's fluorescent pretty much during spawning
I
season.
got you.
I mean,
I know we have the Tennessee red shiner, and I believe that's the one that colors with the most here. I'm sure there's some other ones that I'm not familiar with, but that's the one I hear about the most.
Tennessee shiners are nice. I have actually a breeding group of Tennessee shiners. So
Nice.
they're not colored up right now because my tanks are too hot at the moment. But when they do color up, they're gorgeous.
Sure. Now, these particular species, obviously, I fish Tennessee River. I know you fish Tennessee River, so it goes into both states as it feeds into the Mississippi. Is that generally where most of the species you're helping out with come from, or are there some other waterways that you help?
Mainly Tennessee River drainage.
Okay.
And that's mainly because I haven't had the opportunity to go collect anywhere else yet. Like next month for a week, we're collecting, me and the guy I collect with, my collection partner, we're going to collect 2 days to Miami, 2 days in Miami, 2 days on the way back from Miami.
Wow. Okay. So you're hitting a lot of stuff, definitely in the different direction than you're usually going to, for sure.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't understand is like there's a lot of species in Tennessee that I want and I want to work with. Tennessee is a non-collection state. You're allowed to dip net them. You're allowed to photograph them, but you cannot keep them.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Gotcha. No, well, I mean, that makes sense based on some of the angling laws I've seen. But what got you? Okay, so let me rephrase. Obviously, you're doing this to pique your interest, but how did you get yourself in this position where you could do that?
It started with a fish tank. It started with a fish tank. And then
Simple enough.
And then I met what is my business partner now. He worked at the local fish store, everything like that. We got to talking, and then we got to talking about breeding stuff. He would give me stuff and be like, hey, see if you can breed this. And then all of a sudden we're like, he went to Colombia for a week collecting fish in Colombia. And that just sparked it from there. I'm like, dude, when you get back, we got to go see what we can find locally that's really cool. And then we did that, and it's just skyrocketed from there. Anytime I have free time, I'm at the creek with a dip net and a seine. So, like, I went earlier today, I caught a breeding pair of Mad Tom catfish.
Nice.
It's
I've
it's
only
North
ever seen one of those in the wild.
it's North America's smallest species of catfish. They only get like 3 to 4 inches.
Right.
And there's actually endangered species of those. The species I have now is not endangered, but they're hard to find. Like you rarely
Sure.
see
Yeah. I
them.
mean, they're that tiny and that small. Yeah. Like I said, I've only ever seen one in the wild. So obviously you're got involved with this. You met with this guy. Started doing the collecting tanks. Are there any specific minnows that you do more with than others, or is it kind of just a general, little bit of everything type situation for you?
Well, like I just collected a new species to me that I haven't caught yet in the area earlier this week. I think it was
Okay.
Monday. This is the
And which
only
one's that one?
creek I have found them in. It's the rosy side dace.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it's a 3 to 4 inch minnow, and I haven't collected them anywhere else. So I'm really focusing on spawning those right now because they're in spawning colors. I caught them; they were spawning while I was catching them. So I'm working on spawning them now, and since that's the only place I have found them, I'm gonna spawn them, raise the babies up until they're good to be on their own, and then I'm gonna release the babies back into that creek.
Okay. Okay. So you just help bolster that population in that specific area.
Yeah, because
Now,
out of a full day of collecting there Monday, I only caught 10 adults. So that
I
tells
got you.
me the population's low.
Sure. Now, I'm under the impression, based on this case we've had in the past, that you are working with a group of people to do the same thing. Along with that, and I know you met that one gentleman. That's what sparked the interest of it. But now you're actually working with another group um, to do some more of this type of stuff. You want to go into a little detail about that and who they are and what they do?
Me and my partner are working with, well, we're trying to work with, we haven't quite gotten all the way there yet,
Okay.
but we're keeping an eye on a species of fish that has, it's a Alabama cavefish. It pretty much looks like a little strip of chicken with no eyeballs.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're weird. They're really weird. They're endangered, so we're not allowed to pull them out of the cave. But somehow the cave flooded. I mean, the last thing we did, somehow the cave flooded. We're working on getting all the bullheads out of the cave. There's bullheads in the cave.
And I'm sure there's eating them alive.
Yeah, and the thing about all the cave fish, they do not live in the cave water. They live in the aquifers below the water or below the caves. If
Okay.
there's a leak in the aquifer, when the fish spawn, it will push eggs out into the cave. So the
Okay.
adults live in the aquifer below, and the babies are getting eaten and everything like that. And before me and him started doing everything we're doing in this cave, a scientist spent the same one that we're working with to come back. I think spent like a month in there and only seen two. Me and my partner went in there for 2 days and seen six. So the population's still there, but
Right.
only thing about this cave is people go in and out of it constantly. It's not gated.
It's constantly disrupted.
Yeah, it's constantly disrupted. There's trash everywhere. We're actually planning on going soon, taking a bunch of trash bags and clearing all the trash out of it. And there's also a rare species of salamander in there. It's a protected species. It's the cave salamander. They're red with black spots, and they live inside the cave.
Okay.
So,
Obviously, being an amphibian, they're just as prone to having problems with water quality and trash amount and all that good stuff too. Yeah, I get that entirely.
and our biggest struggle right now is trying to figure out how to get the trash and the bullheads out. Because to get the bullheads, of course, you're going to have to use bait.
Yeah.
With it being such a closed ecosystem in there, it's hard to figure out what bait to use that's not going to cause problems long term to get these fish out. Because the bullhead's not supposed to be there.
Right. Wait, would a night crawler cause a problem there?
Maybe not, but I don't imagine they look fat. Like these bullheads look fat, and they're feeding on the cave fish. That's the biggest. Like that's the only organism that's living in the water is the cave fish
And bullhead.
and the bullheads. So the bullheads have to be eating the cave fish. There's no other option.
I still would try Nightcrawler. I don't know, maybe I'm lazy. Used to catch bullheads a lot when I was younger on Nightcrawler, so I assume this would be a good bait. But anyway,
That's what we're
so
thinking about, but we're still waiting to hear back from him to see what he thinks we should do.
he is in the professor.
Yeah, the professor, because we want to pull those out. But
Sure.
I mean, he's a big professor at Auburn in taxonomy. He's described like 90% of the pleco species in the world. If you look up a pleco, Dr. Armbruster has described it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
pretty much.
Man, I don't know how many pleco species there are out there, but I'm guessing there's quite a few. I can think of like 6 or 7 myself just from the aquarium side of things. I don't know how many are out
Plecos are labeled by L numbers. I think we're like 390 something.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot more than I imagined.
and
Okay.
that's not even all of them that are L numbered yet. There's still some that haven't been.
Sure. I mean, they're discovering new stuff all the time, especially
Yeah.
with
It's like
these non-sport fish species.
last week, I think it was, 2 new species of darter in the U.S. was described.
I know, and I saw an article the other day. There was a couple of different species of fish worldwide that were thought to be extinct that showed back up too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff's happening all the time for sure.
I mean, this tank behind me houses 2 pairs of rainbow darters, scarlet shiners, flame chubs, which is a very hard to find species that we got lucky, and I actually spawned them. I got babies of those right now. You wouldn't think of a chub being pretty, but flame chubs are, I don't know, they're very rare. You don't see them just anywhere.
Okay,
And there's only like 2 or 3 spots we know where they're at.
I got you. So, what's it like raising all these endangered species? Are there any like big hurdles you've had to deal with? Is water quality a big problem?
Water quality, not so much. It's food.
Okay.
We're raising Daphnia, just small little organisms.
Now, is this because you're trying to replicate what they're eating in the wild, or is
Yeah.
this because it just okay? All right.
We also
That makes sense if you plan on releasing them back on the wild. You don't want to get them stuck on like fish food.
we also feed brine shrimp. Like I hatch 2 big things of brine shrimp a day.
Oof, that's a lot of brine chip.
Yeah, and probably, I mean, if anybody's ever seen brine shrimp eggs, they're super tiny. Each one of my
Yeah, no,
containers, I do 2 teaspoons of brine shrimp eggs a day in each one of the containers, and I go through both of those by the end of the day.
That's a lot of brine. Anybody who's never been in the aquarium world, look up how to raise brine shrimp. You know exactly what he's talking about. Like you can't even really see them swimming. They're so small. It just looks like
Yeah.
the water is just cloudy. They're there because it's cloudy.
Yeah, your water just looks
It's,
red.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. But okay. So the water quality is not a problem. Is tank temperature a problem? And obviously, you're catching these out of the natural creeks. Is there certain ones that
I
have
don't
to be
run
cold water?
heaters.
Okay.
I try to not let them get, like, my house running ACs. I'm right around like 70 degrees. So as long as it don't get above that, I'm good. Like this tank's a little warm right now, but that's because the light's been on it all day. Like there's no heaters in there. Plenty of filtration. The biggest thing about moving fish from the wild to a tank, flow. A lot of these minnows, if you ain't noticed, love really high flow. So I'm running power heads, everything I can to make
About to
flow
say,
happen.
powerhead. Yeah, no, I got you. That's cool. Okay, so in dealing all these different species and crazy species, what's maybe the most unique or crazy thing you've learned so far from collecting these species? Whether I don't know if it's a process or if it's one about specific species, doesn't matter. Just what's something that you think is really cool?
The way shiners and dace spawn is really cool to me. Their nest,
Okay, what makes them different?
their nest.
Wait, that's robbers.
Yeah, they lay eggs in other fish's nests.
Okay.
And their favorite fish is a stone roller, which is a creek chub that gets about 4 or 5 inches.
Okay.
Nodules on the head, like spikes coming out the head and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've caught a couple. You hear them called the horny heads a lot.
Yeah, horny heads. And that's a stone roller. A lot of like the ones native to us are big scale stone rollers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not
And
sure what the one here is.
it would be the big scale.
Okay.
You're still in the territory for the big scale. We don't have the colorful ones around us. Trust me, I'd have some.
All
But
right.
what a stone roller would do is it lives up to its name. It'll take stones, smooth round stones, and pile them in a section of the river that has a divot or a creek that has a divot in it. And these shiners, as the stone roller is building the nest, these shiners will come up and spawn on the stone roller's nest. And you have to have stone rollers to breed shiners because
Does he have stone rollers at all?
the hormones from the female laying eggs triggers the shiners to lay
Okay. That's
on that
different.
nest. Yeah, it's really weird. It's a cool process though.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
A lot of your
I guess
captive bred shiners don't have to have that, but since I'm dealing with wild caught,
they need it.
they need it. Like
I
my
gotcha.
rainbow shiners are captive bred. All I have to do is put pea gravel in the bottom of the tank and they'll spawn in it. But like the
Okay.
rosy side days, they have to have stone rollers. The rough shiners have to have stone rollers. Scarlet shiners have to have stone rollers. I think that's the only species I have right now. I'm trying to think of what else I got that needs it. Flame chubs
Yeah,
like
that's pretty crazy.
doing it on stone rollers. It's weird. They're nest robbers. And I was like, that's really cool.
Sure. I saw a post of a guy, he was fishing and he found, I don't know what they were, I guess it had been a stone roller then, but it was a Tennessee red shiner school that was spawning on top of this pile of rocks. So I assume it was a stone roller nest, like you
Yes.
said.
Yeah, that would be a
But
stone
he was
roller
sitting
nest.
there, he was sitting there and actually, he was sitting there taking pictures of it, and a hellbender showed up and started eating the shiners. Completely unfazed by him being there. It was just like a pile of food went for it, and it was a pretty cool post and pictures and stuff he showed for sure.
You'll have to send that to me. Like, my dream,
I'll have to try to find it again.
I know I'm not allowed to touch it. I'm diving really deep into amphibians too right now, like salamanders and stuff. And I want to see a hellbender so bad. I know I can't touch it, but I want to see one.
Well, if you just want to see one, just come up here to the Chattanooga Zoo. They got a whole entire building with like 6 or 7 of them in it.
I know I was there this past
That's
weekend.
You didn't tell me. You should have told me, man. We could have grabbed lunch or something.
I was dropping fish off and picking fish up. Sorry.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, Wesley, you couldn't really stay. I got you.
No.
Oh,
I'm Sean, my business partner, works the goonch catfish in the aquarium. That's Sean's goonch. That's his catfish.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, that's his. He's supposed to be like he hasn't named it. He's owned it because you can own fish in the aquarium. And,
Yeah, I did know that.
and have the right to name them. The goonch is his. And he's like, I just don't know what to name it.
That's a good point. Next time I'm in there, I'll have to take a long look at him and see if I can get some names for him. That we can send them to him.
Yeah, we went up there
That's pretty
to
fun.
Fish Mania to drop some fish off.
Yeah.
And that's why we were there. And he's like, I'm a member of the Chattanooga Aquarium. Do you want to run by there real quick? I was like, sure, why not?
Sure. Yeah. Definitely. Why not? Especially when you got some different insight into that aquarium. Probably you got to go through the back or something. Probably.
Not this time.
Okay.
Every time he goes up there, he goes to the back. But since we were on a time crunch, we didn't get to.
I got you.
So next time I go,
Gotcha.
I'll get to see the breeding facility, hopefully, or something like that. I want to see what the back looks like.
Dude, you have to just let me know what that's like. I am sure there's some insane stuff back there, for sure.
Yeah, and then I'm buddies with a dude named Derek that does the. I've met a lot of friends in this hobby.
Sure.
He works for the conservation facility that breeds endangered species up in Knoxville, and
Okay.
yeah, and he's helped me a lot on explaining how to breed a bunch of this stuff. But
Well, let's shift the discussion a little bit. Obviously, you're an angler as well that got into this hobby, right? As an angler, obviously, a lot of us use some form of bait. Obviously, some more so than others use live bait. What, I guess, issues do you find with that? I mean, like, obviously, if you're going to the store buying, I mean, they're supposed to, I could be wrong here. I'm under the impression you're buying them from the store. They're supposed to be a known legal breed to sell, which I
Yeah,
either fathead or some people call certain ones toughies, all that kind of stuff, shiners,
yeah.
whatnot. But
I mean,
what kind of
your standard shiner really isn't native to us.
really?
The only thing we have, yeah, it's really not native to
Okay.
us. It
Well, because
is.
I know we have golden shiners that are native, right?
You have saffron. I mean, there's hundreds of species of shiners.
Okay. Well,
Crescents are some
I
of
don't
the
know what.
prettiest ones, but I mean, just in our riverway, the Tennessee River drainage, you've got Tennessee shiners, saffrons, scarlets,
I say,
rainbows.
rattle your brain with 100 of them. But what kind of shiner do they sell at the store? Was it just
More
a
than likely, it's a spot.
bog
It's a spot tail. They come off.
spot tail shiner?
Yeah, they come off of the Black Warrior drainage. They're easily captive
Okay.
bred. They're one of the biggest shiners out there. If you ain't noticed, shiners are really hard to keep alive, and that's true in the aquarium
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah. You're not lying. The
That's
longest I've been able to keep them alive is like 2 weeks, and that's with with an aquarium for sure. But yeah,
flow.
that's
Flow's
the
the
longest.
key, man. Flow's the key to keeping
Exactly.
them alive.
What's like with gizzard shad, man? I mean, those guys that do the trot line. One of the videos I saw of them, he's like, "This is how I keep them alive for weeks on end. I catch them on a weekend, and I go out and bait on my trot lines all week with them." His bucket, obviously, this is not exactly a humane way to think about it. Okay, so don't hate me. I'm just telling you what this guy does. 5 gallon bucket, has one of those battery operated circulation pumps you get at Harbor Freight, and pumps the water in a circle, and it keeps the fish moving in a circle around the bucket. That's the only way he's able to keep them alive. He said you have to constantly scoop the scum off the top, right? And you got to put a
Yeah.
little bit of salt in the water to keep their slime coats going. But yeah, that's how you keep them alive forever, is literally keep them spinning in a circle. And he said you cannot use a square tank at all to do it. So I
No.
don't know how much truth is in that necessarily, but it was funny because it was a red bucket, and every single gizzard chat he pulled out had a red nose from rubbing against the bucket.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly. I mean, I could see it working.
Sure, well, I mean, you do what you got to do, and that was his solution, to not having to have one of those 50 or 100 gallon in boat huge tanks, right? Because he was just fishing out of a flat bottom. But
I can
that
see
was
it.
just like,
I can see.
yeah, no, like I said, it was slightly disturbing. It's like those poor fish. He probably had 200 fish in that little 5 gallon bucket. They were, gizzard shad, 3-4 inches long, right? For a trout line.
At least
So
not four full-grown gizzards.
Man,
I can see somebody
it's
putting
crazy.
full-grown gizzards in a 5 gallon bucket with a
But they get
circulation
like
pump.
3 in there. But they only fit like 3 in there because they wouldn't even be able to spin in a circle. They're so big. It's insane. Well,
We have,
back to the whole
yeah, we have.
no rabbit hole. Yeah, whatever. Right, is what it is. But do you think most fishermen, when they grab a bucket of minnows, really know exactly what species they have in the bucket, or do you think they just
No,
roll with it anyway? They don't care.
roll with it anyway. Don't care.
Sure. Now, obviously, this is probably more. I'm assuming this is going to be more of a problem if they're cast netting or dip netting for their minnows.
Seining too. Seine's another
Oh, sure,
big
because this is a
issue.
giant net across the whole entire river, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think that's an area that, obviously we know it hurts the populations, obviously we know it is detrimental to the health of those populations, be able to mass harvest that stuff and not knowing what they are. Do you think that the states, I mean, specifically, I know you're in Alabama, do you think they do a good job of putting that information out where people can see it?
No, not at all. Like how detrimental it is. I have a friend that collects rainbow shiners. He showed one person where that rainbow shiner spot was. Because you got to remember, these fish are not migratory. They live in a
Okay.
for example, like when we went to Bankhead National Forest collecting for a whole weekend, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We went after 5 different species of mad toms, but we ended up catching a species of darter that only lives in this one riffle on this creek. That's the only place it's ever been
Okay.
caught, ever been found, was in that one riffle, just because it was the way the water went over the riffle is what that fish liked to spawn in. And that was the only
Okay.
only area in that creek that was like that. And It's called the bankhead darter. And if we would have took the 30-foot seine out there, we could have caught every bankhead darter in existence. I mean, it's a critically endangered species.
Right. And if it's only like certain spots, then obviously you're.
I mean, you see this.
Yeah.
You see the same problem with some of the shiner species. They only live in certain sections of the creeks. So if you go in there with a net or something, you catch every shiner in that section, you're destroying that population.
Right. And like you said, most people are doing it unknowingly. They're just trying to get bait.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. I guess it wouldn't be nothing against the angler. It's more or less the state's not providing the information on these critically endangered species or these species that are only found in certain places. That would technically be on the states for that. They need to make people aware, hey, this. I mean, they'll do signs for invasive species,
right?
But you won't do signs for critically endangered species.
I want to say Tennessee does a little better with that because I know that in the free guidebook they put out every year for regulations, they have a whole entire section on just bait fish, what's legal, what's not legal, list of the species. Now, I will say they don't provide pictures.
Pictures would help a lot because a lot of your anglers are not going to look up what this fish is. They just say, because 90% of the time, these shiners that are critically endangered look like every other shiner out there. The only time they're colored up is in the spring when they're spawning.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
You have to look at these fish close to tell what they are. Like the scarlet shiners behind me. Right now they're colored up. They're purple, red, and yellow. Colored up.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they're not colored up during spawning, the only way you could tell that they're a scarlet shiner because they have tiger bars coming down the side.
Oh, okay. I got you.
You'll see faint tiger barring in them when you catch them. That's how you know it's a scarlet shiner. Rainbows, they have blue iridescence around the gill plates. Just stuff like little...
Yeah, nobody's looking for that.
Yeah, nobody's looking for that.
I got you. Now, so obviously we've identified that the problem would be, obviously, they're catching them wild. They're going to be possibly wiping out populations. Don't get me wrong here. And we also discussed that we think that the states could do better at putting that information out. Well, why? Let's say the states did put that information out. They put the pictures out there. Do you think that the majority of anglers would actually take the time to consider that? Let me rephrase. The ones that catch their own bait would actually take the time to consider what species they caught.
That's a very controversial thing. Because if I say the wrong thing, we're in trouble.
Well, let's just be honest here. I mean, until recently, I wouldn't have, right? I mean, I'm just being honest here.
Now,
if I didn't have
you're gonna send me pictures of fish and be like, "Hey, is this okay?"
No. I mean, I'm just saying, like back in the day when I had no clue, and I was like, "Oh, hey, there's only the sport fish species, and then there's minnows, right?" I didn't take the time. I didn't know. It wasn't. I didn't start going to the aquarium and actually like trying to figure out what we actually had around here and what the special species were and everything until I was probably close to high school age.
The funniest part about us going to the aquarium Sunday was we went to, we didn't even go to the saltwater side. We didn't even pay attention to the non-native stuff. We went to go look at the native stuff to see what we wanted.
You just skipped 3 floors of the thing, went to the 4th floor.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, yeah.
We went to rivers and streams and looked at all the shiners and stuff and the darters, and we're like,
sure.
We got to look up where to find those. We need to go catch some of those. Right. But honestly, most of your anglers know they're not gonna. I mean,
sure.
There's not gonna be much prevention here. It's gonna be it's gonna be conservation facilities. Like we're trying to turn our facility into a nonprofit conservation facility. I would be the master breeder. I would breed everything. Let's see. Oh, another good example of endangered species that are struggling that in our lifetime has disappeared.
Has disappeared?
Has disappeared. And the only place they exist is in a conservation facility. It's,
wow, okay.
It's actually a pygmy sunfish species. It's, God, I'm going to butcher the name. The scientific name is Leocarda alabamae. It's found in one creek, one section of the creek, and nowhere else. That is it.
Okay.
They ran.
You said it's found.
months and months and months of conservation. It shut down the Toyota plant that was being built out here
Oh, okay.
because of one little fish that only gets this big.
Are they actively stocking it again with that species, or are they having it at that point yet?
I don't think they've gotten to that point yet. They're farming them, but I don't think they've gotten to that point yet.
Sure.
And I'd like, since I'm so close to it, if we become a nonprofit, a facility that can work with, like, you have to have licenses and stuff like that to be able to work with endangered and critically threatened species. All I have to do is say, hey, send me pairs of Alabama and I'll start releasing them into the wild. So it could save the population. If I can spawn the Alabama, I can release all the babies into that creek. Which would,
Right, and that can make a huge difference.
oh yeah, it'll bring that species back.
Back on the topic of anglers identifying species, say they didn't necessarily want to learn every single species. If they, what would be a good bait option? I mean, obviously it's gonna be a little bit different in Alabama because regulations, but what would maybe give a couple examples of better bait options? Obviously you got gizzards, obviously you got threadfin, tipjack, stuff like that. But
Your
like if you're
common,
looking for the smaller one,
your common creek chubs.
okay,
Common creek chubs are fine. Or they're you're not threatening a common creek chub. Stone rollers actually are a good one. Stone rollers are everywhere.
I got you. Well,
Stone
you seem to
rollers,
supply all the other species with the ability to spawn. So I hope there's a few out there at least.
yeah. Let's see. Striped top minnows would be a good one. They get fairly big. They get about the size of a shiner. They're easy to breed. I've bred them. Let's see what else. Gambusia, mosquito fish. They're everywhere.
We have those. I said we have those here.
Yes.
I thought that was a South American thing for some reason.
No. They're in the same
But
family
it's
as a
something every day.
guppy.
Okay. Oh wait, yeah. No. I remember that now because we did a project when I was in elementary school. We had to make an ecosystem in a bottle using duckweed, uh, the mosquito fish, and something else. I remember doing that now. I'm thinking about it. I do remember that. Very,
They're
very tiny fish.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And they make good
Okay.
minnows for crappie fishing.
That makes sense.
I mean, your
I was thinking
females
of
are
the.
about inch and a half, 2 inches.
Yeah, you were saying mosquito fish, and I was thinking archer fish, which I
Oh,
believe is in South America or something.
yes, that's
I
a
don't know why.
South
I don't know
American
why my
fish.
brain went. I'm not sure why my brain went that way, but yeah. Okay, so cool. So yeah, there's obviously some options out there.
I mean,
Obviously,
of
we talk about
course, bluegill.
too, so,
But
yeah, they're kind of hard to use for crappie, I would think.
yeah, but
But
the
yeah,
gambusia would be your best bet for crappie.
I got you. Well, with that being said, with you doing all these breeding type scenarios, do you think, obviously, with certain species, you feel like you can make a big impact, but do you think overall that you being able to do this in other organizations like the ones you're helping with and everything are obviously it's generally a positive trend, I'm guessing, but do you think they're actually doing enough to keep up with the amount of damage people are making to these fisheries? Do you
We'll
think it's possible to
never.
overturn that?
I don't think we'll never keep up. I mean, it'll come to a point where we'll have a stable population in captivity to be able to release. But if things keep going the way it goes, the wild population is just going to keep depreciating no matter how much we release.
I got you. Kind of sad to think about it that way, but I guess it was a sad reality. Like
I mean,
I've mentioned many times before, people screw up everything they touch.
I'm trying
That's
to
the long story short.
us and a couple more facilities are trying to make a difference, but I mean, it's going to be hard.
Sure. I'm doing all these collections and whatnot. You got any like your favorite stories? Like a favorite story of like a I don't know favorite encounter? Is there any species that you discovered that other than the mad tom? Is there any species that you found that maybe you thought might have been a new species but wasn't quite or anything like that? You had any of those kind of things going on?
Nothing. Seeing the bankhead darter was pretty cool. We did catch
I
some.
got you.
Seeing those was pretty cool. Let's see. I think my coolest experience so far doing these collection trips, and I've actually got the mail in here from that trip, is the first time I ever collected like one of the colorful darter species, a rainbow darter. And at the time I was like, oh, this fish ain't found here. We're not going to find these. First net scoop, I'm like, and then about 20 net scoops later, we have like 15 of them. So, I mean, the excitement went away real quick. But like the initial excitement, because that was my first collection trip ever. And like, and they were colored up at the time because they were spawning. I mean, they're still kind of colored up, but I mean, these darters are blue, red, yellow, orange. I mean, it's just rainbow colored. They're rainbow darters. And like just to see one in person for the first time was like, this is amazing. And then the other one, like the creek I collected the rosy side dace from was literally 2 foot wide by 4 inches deep.
That's a very teeny tiny creek.
Yeah. And these fish are like 3 inches. And I'm like we're walking up this creek and it's beside a church that my grandmother cleans on the weekend. She's the one that actually mentioned it. And okay. But I mean, she's like, y'all need to come try this creek. There's a bunch of minnows in there all the time. I'm like, whatever. I knew what creek she was talking about. I'm like, it's only freaking 2 foot wide. And then all of a sudden we pull out this really colorful fish. I'm like, I didn't know what it was at first. I had a message. Everybody I knew was like, what is this? And
should have listened to Grandma Center.
Yeah, right. And then because we caught a pair to start off with, and the male's colored up, and I'm like, I pull it out. I'm like, this can't be a rough shiner. Because, I mean, it's similar color pattern to a rough shiner. And the more I got to look at it, I was like, no, the face is wrong. Boys, I'm about to get you. The face is wrong and all that. And then I finally sent the pictures off to somebody while we were sitting there waiting on them to respond. We ended up catching 10 individuals. Mostly female. I think we caught like 6 females, 4 males. So I only brought a group of 5 home with me. I brought 3 females, 2 males with me. And that was another exciting moment because it was the wow factor of, I don't know what this is. I've been collecting for months now. I know my native fish, and I have no clue what this is.
So I guess you probably feel the same way if you found a new species, I would think.
Yeah.
What is this? You'd be starting all over again.
Yeah, I mean, because it's it's the wow factor of you don't know what it is. So, I mean, it's the same response if you found a new species.
Right. Back to the angling aspect of this, right? So obviously there's a lot of stuff that people ignore overall. Not saying everybody does. We'll say ignore in terms of learning how to identify minnows and whatnot. But do you think that through what you learned while dealing with minnows specifically, is there any other maybe of the sport fish species like other problems that you found that will arise, have arose, or have in the past been a problem in terms of fisheries from maybe similar issues you found with the minnows?
Naturally, no. I mean, these are highly developed ecosystems, all the way down to the smallest minute scud, which is it's a small
thing, right?
Yeah, it's a small invertebrate. Um, these waterways are so stable to the point where the only thing that's going to really hurt them is chemically poisoning them or taking fish that you don't know what they are. I mean, I think that's the fish will naturally bounce back, but it's like everything else. It takes time. It's like if those are the only 10, I know I keep going back to the rosy side days, but they're a good example because I only caught 10. But if those were the only 10 there, it's going to take us, because maybe say those other 3 females spawn, it's going to take a while for them to actually repopulate, and plus all their babies getting eaten and stuff like that, because you got so many other fish in there, like bluegill will annihilate fry. So with me bringing that 5 home, I can repopulate that creek faster than they can.
Right.
And
makes sense.
But if I wasn't going to breed those, I just destroyed half of the native population.
Right, which is a problem in and of itself.
Yeah.
Way to go, Zach. Wait.
Yeah. We can say that, but when I turn around and release 300 or 400 of them at 2 inches long.
Yeah, it probably make a difference for sure.
So
Now, if somebody wanted to get more information about various, I mean, obviously, I know you're focusing more on the Tennessee River at this point because the main drainage you work with. I know you're working at try and get other stuff too. But if somebody wanted to get more information about either minnow species or maybe trying to do the same thing you are trying to do with maybe doing the whole raising at home thing. Obviously, I know there are going to be state regulations. They got to look up all that stuff. But where would somebody go to try to get information on how to start that?
what, like how to identify what species and stuff like that?
Well, I mean that too. But I mean, just like say they were wanting to get into the whole breeding thing. Like, where did you learn how to set up an aquarium to do that, or where did you
YouTube.
like? I know you know how to do. Oh, okay, that's fine. Whatever, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like,
I know you
there's a lot of
you got
native
aquarium thing.
channels. There's a lot of native fish keepers on YouTube.
See, I didn't know that either. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of native fish keepers on YouTube, and a lot of breeders on there too that will tell you how to breed certain species. Like the hardest one to find, darters are pretty easy to find on YouTube how to spawn them. Shiners, there's 500 videos on how to spawn shiners on YouTube. The hardest one that I'm having to figure out on my own, people have done it, but I'm having to talk to like conservation fisheries and stuff like that to figure out how they did it, was actually spawning the mad toms. I have 2 gravid females with a male
okay.
right now that are ready to lay, but my conditions ain't right. Like the females are full of eggs, but
Yeah.
the conditions ain't perfect, and I'm trying to fix that right now. And yeah, that them fish are not happy with me at the moment.
Way to go. Way to be like that. If somebody was, I know you said you're trying to get your non-private, blah 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 blah. Wow, I can't talk. No, you said you're trying to get your
Nonprofit
nonprofit
conservation
license. Yes,
facility.
that thing. You're trying to do that. If somebody was to want to help out with that, what would be the best way to reach you or your partner, whoever? Who would they need to talk to?
Reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok under Padfoot Exotics.
Okay, I will make sure to include this stuff in the description for you guys. Um, but if on a final note, I guess, what what would you recommend people do in order to uh, damaging these fisheries themselves? What would you consider good practices?
No, it sucks to say, but probably buy your live bait would be your best option.
Sure, I can
Everybody
see that.
likes free,
Sure,
but if you want to make sure you're not taking a critically endangered species or something like that out of a waterway, it's always best to buy your live bait or know the species that you want to keep, like that are not endangered or something like that. Not necessarily learn all
Common
the
Creek joke.
don't necessarily learn all the endangered species. Learn the ones that are not, because there's far less of them that you could use for bait. And anything that's not that fish that you know, throw it back. Put it back.
Now I know we talk about minnows, but I know in Tennessee at least another common. But I know there's.
Oh God, there's so many different
I might get this
species.
wrong.
I don't know the
I must
taxonomy
say,
of crayfish. I've seen some
but
pretty
I know
rare
that.
crayfish.
I know that's a problem here too. There's some rare ones that you can't throw, you can't keep. There's some ones that if you do catch any, you're supposed to kill them because there's one invasive one here too apparently.
Yeah, there's like
I'm
clams.
not saying names, but
Clams are another.
that's another huge one. That's a huge one.
Chinese basket clams are endangered. The Tennessee Aquarium actually breeds tangerine darters because the native species of clams will put their larvae on their gills. And then the Tennessee
Right.
darter just spreads the larvae throughout the creeks.
So that's something I learned a couple episodes ago. I was talking with a guy who worked with the I can't not remember his name off the top of my head at the moment. Super nice guy. Worked for the Texas River Authority. They did a mussel project, and he was talking about that's the biggest difference between native mussels versus zebra mussels. Is that zebra mussels don't need fish to attach to,
Yeah.
whereas all their other ones need a specific fish, a specific breed of fish in order to breed. I'm like, that's insane.
I can't
Like,
remember the
you don't think about that.
species that needs the darters, but the weird thing about the darters, once the clam attaches to a darter to put the larvae in the gills, That darter will never go to another clam. Like
Wow.
that's
Okay,
the
that's good.
only chance that darter or that clam has to reproduce with that darter ever. Because the darter learns that lesson because they're smart. They'll look at you and be like, "What's up?" We've had it happen while we're collecting. Like they'll turn their little because they don't have a slim bladder, so they sit on the bottom, and they'll turn their
Yeah,
head and look at you like, "What's up?"
that's crazy.
I mean, it's such a small animal, and you can see the wheels are turning. They're not turning fast, but they're turning.
Well, just talking about the fact there's so much codependence between different species of stuff for that purpose, right? Obviously, you talk about the darters and the clams. You talk about um,
Shiners and stone
uh,
rollers.
the stone. Right, exactly. I mean, there's so. I mean, nobody thinks about that stuff.
No,
You know, I mean, exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go catch every sucker I see. Well, you know, maybe that sucker or that whatever was needed for another freshwater clam to reproduce, and now I can't get freshwater clams.
speaking of suckers, I actually have 2 hog suckers in the 60. Yep.
Dude, okay, tangent, rant.
They're only like
I,
this big.
I went fishing. Well, I went fishing the other day. Okay, I have not caught a sucker on rod and reel ever in my life. I've tried, never happened. Went to the spot I thought they'd be, wasn't able to get one. Caught one in a cast on accident one time. Okay, fine. I know they're in that spot. Still can't catch one on a rod and reel. I went catfishing the other day, and I kid you not, I look over to the side of my boat, just far enough that I mean, obviously I can't keep it if I net it, but I want to get a picture with it. Close enough where I can get my net out. Is I could be wrong. It might have been some species of red horse. But I am 90% sure it was a hogsucker. And I didn't think they could get this big, but I swear to you, it was like this long
Oh, dude,
and was at the surface of the water. I've never seen a hogsucker that big, if that's what it was. But it had the right coloring.
I went a couple weeks ago out to Priceville off the refuge there, which is another Tennessee River drainage out there. And I'm walking down this creek that's only like 8 foot wide. Another situation where it's like 4 to 5 inches deep with some deep pools. I kid you not, in one of the little deep pools, there was an 18-inch hog sucker sitting in there.
I didn't realize I got that big.
If I would have had a seine, I would have caught it. But I see red horse everywhere.
Right, and those get big. You know, those
Yeah,
I mean, getting anywhere between they can get up to 10 pounds or so from
yeah.
my understanding. And like, especially like the greater red horse, and it's just like, holy smokes.
That was
Yeah,
the
the hog
biggest
sucker.
hog sucker I've ever seen. I mean, I've got 2
But yeah,
little ones in here, but they're gonna outgrow this 60 no problem. Once they get like 8
sure,
inches, they're catfish bait.
I got you. They're getting released in the wild on my hook.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, you know.
they're not endangered. I ain't worried about that. I'm just gonna enjoy them while they're small. I needed
I
something to
got you.
sift the sand, and they sift the sand. So
Right. Yeah. That's another thing, man. I mean, just there's so many intricacies when it comes to, especially with the river systems, of fish having a certain job. You know, the suckers filter to the bottom and help keep all the dead pockets of gas from building up and whatnot. Mussels, same thing. They're sipping that stuff. Same with snails. I mean,
I mean,
it's nuts. There's so many little oddball things that things do, and it's insane.
no, I should not have these in here because it is a native tank. But I do have Chinese basket clams in here to help sift the sand. Just because they're so easily found. Every little clam you see that's like this big and yellow, it's a Chinese basket. That's a Chinese basket.
Now, so that one is a native clam,
No, it is a non-native species.
non-native clam. Okay, so you can't have it in the tank with native fish,
I mean,
or is it just because
technically,
you claim it's
technically,
native?
technically, it's non-native, and everything in this tank is native.
Oh, so you can't claim native tank anymore. I see what you're saying. I
Yeah.
got you. Okay. I'm about to say, are you admitting you're breaking a law on the internet? It's probably not a good idea.
No, no, no.
But no, you're not. I got you. I got you. Well, hey, while you got that tank there, why don't you go ahead and maybe try to see if you can get some of those fish focused and kind of point out what species are what for some people that are interested in knowing that. All right. So tell us what we're looking at here. I see it's a tank. I guess go ahead and express what the tank, how you have the tank set up too before you start pointing out fish species. I know
Okay.
you said that you had the new power heads and all that good stuff. What size tank is that?
This is a 60-gallon breeder. It's more than likely overstocked with fish, but it's a 60-gallon breeder.
I mean, they're all small fish. Yeah, I know you have a good filtration system on it, so probably all right.
I have 2 canisters on it.
Yeah, you're probably good.
And then a power head right here that pushes strong. I mean, you can see how hard it's pushing
The
them
air bubble,
bubbles.
if I said the bubbles can't handle it either.
A
That's
lot
funny.
of oxygen. Like I run a lot of oxygen in this tank, so um, most of your shiners and stuff need that oxygen. Let's see.
Now, is that because they're so active, or is that just in general?
Just in general, they come from high flow currents and stuff like that that are heavily oxygenated. Like these mobile log perch would not do
Yeah,
good without all that air in there.
I mean that's fair. I've only ever really caught log perch in higher flow areas. Although I will say the very first one I caught one ever on rod and reel this year. It was huge. It was probably close to 6 or 7 inches long. I've never
This
seen a log perch that big. Yes.
this female, she's pushing 4.5, 5 inches.
Yeah, like I said, it was a huge log perch.
Yeah, she's pretty
Pretty cool
big.
fish. But yeah. All right. So what else you got in there?
We also have these are scarlet shiners. See the tiger striping bars on them?
Oh yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes.
The females do not have orange on their fins. They're the other ones with the black bars with no orange.
Okay.
So the males
Now what
have the
about that
black
one that
bars.
I was gonna
What's
say?
that?
What about that one that had the black stripe that went by?
That is a flame chub. That right there. And
Yeah, that
then
thing.
those are flame chubs. They're not spawning right now, so they don't have the orange bellies like normal.
I got you.
Okay, this one's
Now,
actually really pretty under the light. They stay
I
still
got you.
long enough.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of those species don't really sit still.
No, no.
Now,
Let's
you said
see.
you. Well,
I'm looking
go
for a
ahead.
stone
Sorry.
roller. I'm looking for a stone roller real quick. That'll actually come out. Come on, come out from the crack. They're back there. They don't
I
like
got
people
you.
very much. That little tan silverfish right there, those are female stone rollers. There's a
Okay.
male in here somewhere, but he don't like me very much. So he only comes out when there's food.
Now, you said you had rainbows in there too. Have you shown us those yet? I don't think you have.
What, the
Is
rainbow
that the hogsucker?
shiners?
Is
That's one of
that
the
the
hawks.
hogsucker?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, look at that thing. That's so cool.
That
Now, what about the
hog
thing right there in the front? What's that in front of us?
that is a black-sided darter. It's a snub-nosed species.
Okay.
That's a
Interesting.
male, and then that on the rock right there is a female that just turned and looked at the camera like, "What's up?"
I got you. Like you
And
talked about.
here's a rainbow darter.
Okay.
They're found in the same creek, so I'll just put them in the same tank.
I got you.
And let's see, what else do I have in here? Maybe I can. Oh, sculpins. Sculpins would be really cool. Let me see if I can't get a sculpin out to the front. I gotta get hand in tank. Where's a sculpin?
Oh, a sculpin. Remind me. Is that related to a goby?
Kinda like looks like a freshwater stonefish. There's a black bullhead back there. Let's see if I can get this sculpin out.
You really put a bullhead in that tank?
One of the kids caught it. There's a sculpin. That's a banded sculpin.
Okay. Yeah, that really does look kind of like a goby. Okay. That's
That's
cool.
it's one of Amanda's favorite fish in there, and it's one of my least favorite fish in there because it eats my scarlet shiners.
No. All
Oh
right.
yeah, he'll sit there, he'll pop up because I had a bigger school of scarlets, but a lot of them were still really small, and it's cool to watch it do like its native thing. And he'll pop up and grab a scarlet shiner. He'll be hiding up under a rock or something, and a scarlet will get too close, and he'll just woof,
I
gone.
got you.
He
I
can't eat
got
the
you.
bigger breeders, but
Right. The fry though for sure, and then
yeah,
obviously the smaller ones you have to start with.
he annihilates them. Let's see what else. I should have top minnows in here somewhere. Yeah, I haven't showed the rainbow shiners yet. They're not in this tank. They're separated. The ruffs aren't really colored up. That's that male that fish that keeps swimming back and forth. That's
Yeah.
a rough shiner when they are in season and actually spawning. The males turn really bright red on the top.
You
But
talking about
that
the one with the black stripe, right?
black and silver stripe, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And then, as you can see, he's not dead. He just swam up there. Here he goes. He hangs out on the power head. They like flow a
What was
lot.
that one?
That was a rainbow darter. This is also a rainbow.
Okay.
It's swimming
Okay.
away.
Gotcha.
And then let's go to the rainbow shiner tank. This has got rainbow shiners and It's got 2 stone rollers, rainbow shiners, and some of the rosy side days. You see how the rainbow shiners, if they turn the right way, you get a flash of blue on the gills and stuff?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, see, I'm not gonna look for that in a minute. Well, I will now, I guess, because I need to. But I also don't normally catch minnows anymore for me to use. I usually just go get shad. So, uh,
Let me turn the
but yeah,
line
no,
up a
that's
little bit.
definitely something people should look for.
Those are the rosy side days. The bigger fish,
In the back,
right there.
yeah, in the back, yeah, I got you.
That's a young male stone roller.
Okay,
And then let me see if one of the mad toms come out. There's a pair of mad toms. Those are full grown catfish. They do not get much bigger than that. They're only about 4 inches.
at the back of the tank at the bottom. Gotcha.
That's full grown. A lot of people know them as willow cats.
Okay, you know I have heard that before. I mean, I've heard mad toms too, but I've heard willow cats.
Wish you would come up to the front. Come on, dude. Come on. I'd like to show you the blue-sided darter. There he is. That's a blue-sided darter.
Okay.
There he goes. See all the blue on him? Blue, red.
Yeah.
They're not fully
Now,
colored up
obviously,
either. They've already spawned for me.
yeah, we'll see how well that comes to focus. Hopefully, a lot of these species are showing up for you guys to be able to see it because it's pretty cool. You can show all this stuff. But yeah. All right. Well, appreciate you showing us the tank, obviously.
There you go. Here's a non-native. Cardinal tetras. Cardinal tetras and about 500 Cory cats.
But so you breed those too, right?
We just got a Indonesian shipment in of wild betas too.
So you do native fish and non-native fish.
Yes.
I knew that already, but just for the audience to know. That's cool, man. But like I said, I appreciate you showing us the tanks and pointing out some of that stuff for people. That way they can see what's going on. Obviously, I know that not everybody is watching going to have the same species in those areas of water, but just being able to see, oh, hey, there really is just a little subtle difference between each species makes a big difference in the perception
Oh yeah.
of what people think about when they come about the bucket of
I
minnows.
mean, if you just take the scarlets, but I mean, they're a shiner just like the roughs are. The roughs are a
Yeah.
shiner as well. The
But
roughs
the
have
only thing
that,
different is the silver stripe.
yeah, I mean, the roughs have that year-round black and gold band. I mean, he's the one in the back here, so you can't really see him that well. But that black and gold band's always there. Like, she's already spawned out, that female too, because they're
Yeah.
not colored up anymore, but you can still see the tiger banding.
Right.
So that's
There's definitely some ways to identify these fish.
yeah. And then let's see the flame chubs. He's not even partially colored up, but around the fins and stuff, they still have the orange. They're just their whole belly is not orange at that point.
I gotcha. Well, like I said, back to the whole angling perspective thing. Like I said, I appreciate you on the tanks and helping out for sure. Well, Zach, obviously, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, explaining people what you're doing down there in Athens, Alabama, trying to help raise up these fish, pointing out the intricacies of it. Maybe, again, you also expressed some concerns and some ideas on how to avoid anglers making this problem worse. Is there any final notes you want to add before we go?
Take care of your waterways because it's a delicate ecosystem out there. So I'm learning.
Sure. All right. Well, y'all, appreciate you tuning in on the Bait Tank tonight. Until next time, tight lines. Remember, you're watching the Bait Tank. If it's fishing, we'll talk about it. And we'll see y'all again on the next episode.